Welcome to Business on the Vine. I'm your host, Lady Jen Du Plessis, and in this dynamic series, we dive into the challenges, breakthroughs, and victories of entrepreneurs who have turned their passion into success. Welcome. Well, welcome back, everybody. And I am so excited to have Jon Kovach with Kovach.
Whatever.
Kovach.
Kovach.
Whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. But I'm so happy to have you on the show, Jon. Welcome to Business on the Vine. You've had the wonderful opportunity of being on Business on the Vine, the TV show as well. And we just wanted to expand our conversation with you and talk a little bit more about what you've done, in your career and what you're doing. And again, with Business on the Vine, we want to dig in, we want to harvest some of your experience, right? We want to really stomp out some myths that might be out there, and specifically for you, I'm really excited about talking about your irrefutable laws of high performance. I had to get all the words right. You don't hear that word very often, irrefutable. And I was intrigued by that. And I thought, okay, so let's see how irrefutable they are. But, for the business person who's listening and watching, they want to get the insights from you, heard it from the grapevine, right? We want to get those insights. So tell us a little bit about your history and how that brought you to having these laws of high performance.
Well, first and foremost, thank you. And I love talking with you. Any excuse we have to turn on a recording button and connect and chat, it's honestly such a pleasure. The second thing is I come from a background that's a little hard to follow, and that followship is based on the fact that I grew up with ADHD and to the max. I mean, I was an athlete who wanted and dreamt of being in the Olympics, and I followed that career path up until about 2012. That's when I hung up my track cleats, my track and field cleats. But I was also an entrepreneur. At age 12, my mom started a vending machine business out of our basement, and we would literally go to corporate office spaces. But rather than having vending machines, we had these cardboard boxes that were full of bulk snack items with a little can in the corner that said 25 cents honor rule. Yeah. At age 14, I did what every other 14-year-old does. And I run the neighborhoods and mow lawns. And then at age 16, I wanted to solve a problem. And that problem was that I did not like the music that was being played at dances. That's a 16-year-old's problem right there. And so what I did is I just went and purchased my own DJ equipment, and I started DJing. I started broadcasting myself, and with just a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work and a lot of broadcasting myself and taking on gigs and experiences, I was able to put other local DJs out of business. I was getting the gigs that I wanted to do, which led to more opportunities. Now, the background here is it's not the DJing that I want to brand myself as. It was the emceeing that I loved. I loved getting that microphone and bringing the wallflowers into the middle of the dance floor and getting them to shake their hips and have a good time. And I realized my power, my God-given talent was using my voice. So it wasn't about the DJing that I wanted to brand myself as. It was more of the emceeing, the inspiration behind holding a microphone and getting the wallflowers onto the dance floor and allowing them to have an experience and have a time. And that's when I discovered I had a voice. I discovered I had a God-given gift and talent, which was the ability to use my voice and curate an environment where I could help people have an experience. And that's where the public speaking and the entrepreneurship really started to take off for me. And so that's where it comes from. That's that background. And when I boiled down all of my experiences from being a top performing athlete to building businesses and generating an income from many ADHD ideas, I mean, those were just the brink of it. I mean, started so many other things afterwards. But all of those things boiled down, I realized something about me and what it takes to achieve great things. And that was irrefutable laws that by listening to and learning from other gurus and motivational speakers and other people out there, and the qualities, the actions that are necessary to achieving high performance. And all of that combined boiled down to one word. And I'll give you 4 great accountability steps today, but the word was accountability.
Yeah.
And the accountability is what led to high performance, irrefutable.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, both of us, we've talked about this before, is that in our businesses, I'm moving my mic so that everybody knows what I'm doing. I just realized it's Claire over there. I must sound really far away. It just happens, happens in our podcast. You and I've talked about that before, accountability, because that's a core value. It's not my number 1 core value, but it's a core value. It's number 2 in my practice, right? Is, integrity and then accountability. And I think that's really key. Now, I was an athlete too. So there's something about athletes. In fact, when I was, in my previous career, it was one of the things I wanted to do was always ask people if they were an athlete, because there's a certain amount of, it's not yes, accountability, but it's discipline, right? That athletes bring to the workplace. And I find that just no matter who I'm talking to. In fact, I remember talking to someone not too long ago who said, I only hire athletes. We're a team. And we, my whole business is a team. And I look at it as we're all athletes and we're all part of this team. We all play a role, and they get it. So I get how that's coming from, where you're saying these are some of the high performance pieces of it. So share with us some of those, well, you said 4. So let's look at what the 4 are, or 4.
Yes. So high performance comes down to, accountability. And by the way, just here's a funny question I ask myself on occasion to really focus in, to hone in on what this idea of the different type of mindsets might be. If I asked you the question, was Albert Einstein an athlete? Most people are going to say, no, he was a genius. They'd probably associate him with some sort of stereotype, like a
science and
scientist, lab coat, genius, brainiac.
Right.
But the thing is people don't realize that Albert Einstein used to ride a bike.
Yeah.
And that bike was exercise, and that exercise helped him clear the mind. And that mindset is what led to a lot of breakthroughs. Also, other principles that I'm about to share. But when I ask that question, people don't really associate with him as athletic or having to do any exercise. Just they think of the lab coat. And so just remember that there's more than meets the eye when it comes to developing really, really great skill sets to achieving your goals and successes. So accountability is really what it boils down to. And I share 4 irrefutable laws that really, if working together, you have exponential accelerated results. But each principle in and of itself can stand alone, because the first principle is the most important, your foundation. Okay. Principle number 1, or irrefutable law number 1, is personal accountability. And I call personal accountability integrity. Do you say what you say you're going to do to yourself? Most people define integrity as, what we do when no one's watching. Well, that's not true, because there's always someone watching you.
Yeah.
Your subconscious, your soul is watching you, and it's holding you accountable for the things that you're doing. So again, I don't want to call people out, but it's a really come to Jesus moment, if you will, because people realize, wait a minute, I should be accountable to myself, and I should have integrity with myself, not just because I'm doing it for others, but I do it because if I say I'm going to do the dishes, darn it, I'm going to do the dishes. And I'm going to do it when I say I'm going to do it, rather than put it off. Or my laundry, right? It's as little as that to as I am going to read 10 pages today. that step, that jump is so difficult and hard for some people. So anyways, integrity is what personal accountability is all about. You've got to start doing what you say you're going to do. And because you have that mindset now intact and it's part of your repertoire, you are now set up to follow through on several other steps I'm about to share. But real quick is you need to have that accountability with yourself. And when you
Yeah.
do, you
Yeah.
will
So
be able to, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, so it's funny because, I have a quote that my mom always, said that I say quite a bit which is we flatter those we scarcely know.
Mhm.
We please the fleeting guests, yet we deal many a thoughtless blow to those we love the best, including ourselves. And it's amazing that, I will, and I'm sure that the person listening, right? So you're listening to this and you're saying, hey, it's just easy for me to say to myself, hey, I'll do it tomorrow. It's not a big deal. But if I were trying to make that same commitment to a person, I would not push it off. Never. And it's amazing that we aren't as good to ourselves as we are to other people. And so I love that you're saying this personal accountability and really finding a strategy that will work to ensure that you do get the work done that you need to get done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, when I asked the question, do you think Albert Einstein was an athlete? Most people, they look outside and they'll see people running. And out of all the people that you've seen running outside, how many of them are Olympians? How many of them are Olympic athletes? How many of them are winning marathons and that? And then majority of them are not. But
Right.
why do they do it? And the reason is most of these people wake up and they do something difficult. They do
Yeah.
something that they said they would do. Today I'm going to go on a run. Why? Because I said I would, or because I know I should. And that's the mindset people develop. So that's number one. And I'll speed through the rest of them. They're really, really helpful to learn, master, and that's what I teach and coach on. But it's just once you master that foundation, you're set. And I love that quote you shared because it truly does explain
Yeah.
the process in which when you develop accountability systems in your life, you are then set up to not just achieve your goals, right? It's about doing so at accelerated, rapid rates because nobody wants to set a goal and say, well, all right, now that that goal is written down, I guess I'll be seeing that come to fruition in 40 years because that's a
Yeah.
bucket
We'll
list
just hope
item
and
now.
pray.
Right, let's just hope. No, if you set a goal, give it a timeline and don't make that timeline more than a year. Certain
Yeah.
goals need more time, but if you've got a goal, imagine how happy and how much more fulfilled you will feel if you sprint at that goal. And that's essentially what it boils down to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Principle number two is accountability partnerships. Okay. You need to establish buddies, friends, people you can trust, people who say, look, they're not going to, I don't rely on that person, but that person and I have a relationship where they will always support me. They will always be there, but I can also confide in them when I'm struggling. Because if you don't have that person or people in your life, you will internalize everything. You'll keep it in and you will start to miss things. You'll start to miss details because you need someone else. You need that
Well, and
camaraderie.
I think it's not even missing details as much as it's you start internalizing and manifesting the negative,
Exactly.
because it's the why can't I, wonder what, and why don't I this? And you feel like an island as a business owner. So many of us feel like islands. That's why, so many people, even the vineyards, that I'm part of, that we all gather as not as competition, but as collaborators to find out what are some of the struggles we're all having so that we can say, I'm not alone. Thank God. I'm having that struggle too, and thank God I'm not alone because I thought I was the only one and we're
Mhm.
not. So I loved the thought about having and really dissecting that person too, to be, someone you can trust isn't going to go out and tell the rest of the world, ha ha ha, they're struggling.
Exactly.
Right? Because that's what keeps us back because we don't want our competition to know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, in my books and in my processes, we go through a detailed step-by-step process on who to look for and
Yeah.
who meets the
Who
figure.
aligns with
Because
you? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
calling them a buddy doesn't give it justice, but we all need a buddy, right? We all
Yeah.
need somebody. So,
Yeah.
but that's the personal side. So evolving into that professional side, the third principle is that no matter where you're at in the process, no matter where Michael Jordan was in his career, he always had a coach. So you've
Yeah.
got to find professional accountability partners, people who, and I call them partners because this
Mhm.
is investment time. This is, hey, look, I need to get this done. Either somebody knows the system and has done what I'm doing, or if I'm doing something that's never been done before, I need to acquire the knowledge, get the blueprints, and I need to follow the path that is closest to what I need to do. And sometimes you need to pay for that. And sometimes you
Yeah.
need to trade for that. And sometimes you got to sacrifice and you got to put yourself in the hot seat and be ready, because that type of accountability will get you from A to Z faster than your buddy system. But
Yeah, and you'll lose so much more money if you try to do it on your own. It'll take you to, 4 or 5 years to get to it. Pain, heartache, time, effort, all that stuff.
mhm,
And having a mentor who's been down the path just that much further ahead of you, will get you, like you said, to the result so much faster.
absolutely.
Love it. Yeah, love it.
Absolutely. And wrapping this up, I mean, really it's just it's putting yourself in the environment for success. And we'll bring it back to the little DJ MC John in just a minute. But the fourth principle is, once you've established your personal integrity, you've got people or persons around you who you can trust. And now you've got a blueprint because you've got a coach, you've got a mentor, you've got somebody in place to give you direction. So your North Star is so clear and you know exactly the path you're heading down. You need community.
Yeah,
And this community is different than the buddy or the partner, right?
yeah,
Community is people where you can share ideas. We call them mastermind groups. We call
yeah,
them accountability groups. They could be forums. They could be anything where you go to and surround yourself with that environment that constantly keeps you astute to the goals that you set for yourself. And those communities and support systems, I mean, we know it from history that people will do anything for their culture, their communities, their religions, and their beliefs. And they'll stick by them. They'll do even extreme things, but we won't go down that road. They'll do whatever it takes to
yeah,
be validated and to have fulfillment and to really have purpose and reason. And if you don't have purpose and reason within your community, you're in the wrong community. That hurts when it's like your family or your closest loved ones or anything like that. You need to find communities that will help you progress and move. So
yeah.
recap. Oh,
And
go ahead.
right, and I was going to say the other part of masterminds, because we're both mastermind leaders, is what you can give back to the community as well. It's not just everything that you can glean from the
Yeah.
community and the accountability, but being able to help others and serve others also helps teach you. They always say, if you don't know something, teach it. And so that also helps, I think. I found it very beneficial. And of course, for those who are in masterminds, um, the question or the struggle that someone else has, you didn't know you had. It might
Yeah.
be coming down the pike. It might be something you've already learned from your experience, but it's good to know, hey, maybe I should be aware of that and alert of it so that I can scooch past it and it becomes a speed bump instead of a roadblock for me in the future. So yeah, I think community is super, super important too. Yeah, love it. So John, I want to ask you, in business, as we're talking about, business on the vine here, what is the biggest struggle you've ever had in your entrepreneurship journey? And what are some suggestions for how you overcame that? If someone who's listening has that struggle now and they want the answer to hear what someone else did with that biggest struggle that you've ever had.
Mm. Well, you said it earlier. Entrepreneurship is one of the loneliest journeys if you let it to be.
Yes.
And we silo ourselves because we have
Mhm.
great ideas. If our ideas don't give birth and they don't have life, then we feel like the world is missing something, and then it reflects on our inner soul and our meaning. I've gone through the entrepreneurial falls, depressions, and everything included so many times over and over again, mostly because as a young entrepreneur, I took a lot of risks, and
Mhm.
most of them allowed me to learn the lessons I needed to, although they stung really bad. They hurt. They
Yeah.
cost me friendships and relationships,
Mhm.
but it was all so that I could learn the lessons I needed to learn. And, most people want to ask for mentorship so that they don't make mistakes, but part of the process is making those mistakes and learning from them so that you can be better. And you asked me what the hardest trial I've ever had. Um, I had a great business idea, and I came home and talked with my dad about it. And I was like, "Hey, I want to do micro lending. I want to take this money that we have and I want to give it to people in need, and then I want to coach them on building their business, and then they'll just pay back the loan through their business." And we thought it was a great idea, and we invested in a family overseas. And I had such love for the Filipino people. I lived in the Philippines for 2 years, and I just built this relationship. And so I found a really talented family, and I could not control what life was giving them, but I could control what I shared and how I held them accountable. But I could not control what life was giving them. And this business was going great. We made back our money, but that was not the investment. The investment was helping people grow. And I failed because I focused so much on making them succeed rather than giving them what they needed. And that business failed miserably long run because I bruised, I dented relationships, all in the sake of achieving a goal for them rather than with them. And to this day, like, I
You
have
wanted it more
nightmares
than them.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you wanted it more than them. And that, it's a flaw of so many coaches and mentors, is that we want the success for our clients more than they do. And I just had this conversation with my clients the other day. It's like, where are your business plans? How come you guys aren't, I mean, what's going on with this? I can't seem to get anybody to finish up their business plans, right? And I'm saying I can't want it more than you, but I can't guide you unless I know what you want to accomplish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, so that's a good thing. That's a good point. So, heed this, hear what heed what you're hearing from Jon is, don't want it more than the people around you for their success. Give them what they need and not, or I don't know, is it want or need? I can never remember the two, but give them what I, because I think, I'm not wanting, well, let's see, I don't need anything, but I want things. So there we go.
Right.
But sometimes it's just making sure that you're clear on, what you're trying to accomplish and that you don't want it more than other people. And that can be a demise for your business, and I call it white knuckling. That's what I
Yeah.
call it. Is we just hang on so tight to the idea and the concept, and then it just drives us into the ground. And we just have to be aware of that. I call it letting go to grow, right?
Mhm.
Go to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Jon, thank you so much for sharing these insights with us today. In addition to what you've done on the Business on the Vine TV show, I really appreciate it. I just wanted to share another aspect of what you're giving out there to the world. And, my hope is that someone has watched or listened to this and, said, hey, those are things that I wasn't thinking about in my business, and maybe go back to square one. And we have to do that every once in a while. We have to recalibrate, reset, revamp, revisit. It's everything that we're doing. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good setting. So, what would you like to leave us with today? One quote, one mantra, one thought that's on your heart today.
Oh man, if you want irrefutable results in your life, whether it be achieving a personal goal, growing a business, income growth, whatever it might be, first and foremost, evaluate your environment. Second is develop and take action what you need to do to achieve that goal. And then third, if you get what we hope you'll get out of this episode, continue watching as many of the episodes here on Business on the Vine, because you are going to get so many inspirational content ideas and motivational sparks that will lead you to that next step of action. And I highly recommend you listen to everything Jen Du Plessis has shared with us and has given us. And I'll leave you with this. I'm so grateful for the hard times. People who got to be careful what you pray for. If you pray for growth and strength, guess what God's going to give you? He's going to give you challenges that make you stronger. And so if you really, truly, definitely want that, then you better be ready to receive it. And I've learned this process so much. And so when I'm ready to take on more and grow and expand my life, I ask for those challenges specifically because it's better when I ask for them rather than getting them as a byproduct. And I hope that you'll take that advice and remember that everything is worth trying. Everything is worth developing and investing your time into. If it's a desire of yours, then chase it and be accountable and integritous with yourself, and you'll find so much more fulfillment in your life. And that is something that's on my heart today.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Jon. I really appreciate your time today. It means so much for me to have you as one of the first founding people on this show. It really means a lot for me. So thank you again for joining us.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. Okay, well, great seeing you all again here today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next episode. See ya. Thank you for joining us on Business on the Vine. If you found value in today's conversation and would like additional support, go to supportfromjen.com. Remember, the best ideas are always discovered on the vine, so keep innovating, stay inspired, and continue to grow.